Welcome back to Advice for Seniors, a place where we gently share wisdom, slow down together, and learn how to care for ourselves better in the later chapters of life. If this is your first time here, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a gentle, meaningful video made especially for you. When we are young, people often tell us, be kind, help others, keep an open heart. And truly, kindness is beautiful. It brings people closer. It softens the world. But somewhere along the way, as the years pass and our energy becomes more precious, we begin to realize something important. Kindness without clarity can become a burden. Especially after we've lived more than half our lives, kindness must come with discernment. There are people around you, not strangers, but relatives, neighbors, old friends, who have been in your life for a long time, yet their presence does not bring warmth. They come not out of love, but out of convenience. They don't check on you when you're tired, but they remember you every time they need something. They use silence, light criticism, or subtle sarcasm to wear you down, all under the name of family. At this age, you no longer have to put up with anyone. You don't need to keep pleasing others, holding on to anyone, or trying to earn approval from those who only make you feel bad about yourself. The time you have left is not for enduring, it's for protecting your inner peace. In this message, we'll explore 5 types of people older adults should learn to stop being overly kind to, not because we are selfish, but because it's time. Time to give your kindness to those who deserve it, and to keep your peace for yourself. There is a type of person we've all met, and as we grow older, we feel their presence even more heavily. Those who only take, but never give. They show up with a friendly face, stories that seem sincere. They borrow your time, your kindness, your advice, your patience, and sometimes even your money, yet never once ask, "How are you doing today?" You might have been like Mrs. Grace, a woman in her 70s living in an old apartment building, always the first one called when someone needed help. Neighbors asked her to babysit, receive deliveries, pick up vegetables from the market. A niece asked her to house sit. An old friend occasionally dropped by to borrow some cash, promising to pay back next week for sure. At first, Grace helped cheerfully, believing that as long as she could, she should give. But when she was hospitalized for a few days, not a single visitor came. No messages, no soup, not even a phone call. That was when she realized the bitter truth. For years, she had been giving and receiving nothing but empty promises in return. The older we get, the more we need to learn this. Helping someone is a choice, not an obligation. Being kind doesn't mean you have to answer every call for help. You can still be a good person without being convenient for everyone, especially those who vanish when you are the one in need. Many older adults carry a quiet fear, the fear of being forgotten, of becoming irrelevant. That fear can lead us to become the free support system just to feel needed. But your presence alone is precious. You don't need to prove your worth by sacrificing yourself. If someone only comes to you when they want something and never asks what you might need, it may be time to stop. Stop forcing yourself to be the good person in their eyes. Stop giving without limits. Stop feeling guilty for saying no. Because if someone stops caring for you the moment you set a boundary, they never truly cared. They were just benefiting from you. You have every right to save your kindness for those who deserve it. You have the right to choose where your patience, time, and emotions go. And above all, you have the right to protect your peace in these later years, like someone who has weathered many storms and now seeks the clear sky. There are people who never raise their voice, never use harsh words, yet every time you see them, you feel small. They don't use sticks or cruel speech, but every word feels like a tiny needle pricking your spirit. They call it advice, or concern, or just trying to help. But what they truly do is make you feel like you're never enough. Have you ever met someone like this? When you wear a new outfit, they say, "That color is a bit much." When you share a decision you're proud of, they say, "Okay, but you should have." And when you stay quiet to avoid conflict, they say, "See? So sensitive. You can't even take a suggestion." That kind of person is like a pin slowly pressing into your heart, day after day, year after year, and you tell yourself to endure it because That's just how they are. But after 60, your time and energy are too precious for that kind of tolerance. You've lived through enough winters. Now it's time for sunlight. I remember Mrs. Evelyn, now 80, who once told me that for nearly 10 years, she felt quietly sad after every visit from her younger sister. Each time the sister would say things like, "You still have that old table? It looks so poor." Or, "Your kids let you live like this?" Such a plain room. At first, Evelyn would smile and brush it off. "She's my sister," she told herself. But over time, the dread grew. She began to fear every call. One night, she couldn't sleep because her sister had said, "You really don't know how to take care of yourself, do you?" Words don't cut skin like knives, but they can wound much deeper. They can make us question ourselves, shrink back, stay silent, and lose our self-trust. At a certain age, you no longer need someone to teach you how to live. You need people who let you be yourself and love you as you are. You don't need to be perfect in anyone's eyes, and you certainly don't need to keep changing just to meet someone else's narrow view of the world. If every meeting with someone leaves you feeling guilty, small, or emotionally drained, maybe they aren't meant to walk with you in this peaceful chapter of life. You have the right to step back, to say, "I'm tired. I don't want to feel judged every time I see you." To surround yourself with people who make you feel warm, not just correct. Because peace isn't about being right or wrong. It's about being yourself, and knowing that is enough. Not everyone who hurts you will do it with harsh words. Some people don't need to yell or scold. Just a look, a sigh, or a vague comment is enough to make you feel guilty. Not because you did something wrong, but because you dared to live according to your own needs. Have you ever found yourself in this situation? You decline a meeting because you're tired, and they say, "Oh, I see. You disappear when I need you." You don't respond to a message right away, and they write, "It's okay. You must be too busy. I guess no one needs me." You choose to rest instead of helping them with something, and they go silent for days, as if you'd broken some sacred trust. People like this don't need to raise their voice. They manipulate you with silence, with a sad expression, with wordless disappointment. They make you feel guilty for setting boundaries. They make you think you're selfish for taking care of yourself. And slowly you begin to endure just to keep the peace, without realizing you're trading away your comfort and self-respect. I remember Mrs. Margaret, a woman in her 70s, living alone after her husband passed. Her daughter, whenever she needed a babysitter, would call with warmth. But if Margaret ever said she was too tired, the calls would stop. No messages, no contact. When they finally met, the daughter would say, "I guess you don't need us anymore." Each time Margaret felt torn, wondering, was I being cold-hearted? But the truth was, she was simply protecting her health and honoring her limits. In later life, we must relearn an important lesson. Real love shouldn't come with guilt. If someone only treats you well when you're constantly available, constantly sacrificing, constantly saying yes, then that's not love. That's emotional dependence dressed up as closeness. You are under no obligation to always be available. You don't have to justify every personal decision, and you owe no one an apology for choosing to be kind to yourself. If someone leaves you replaying conversations for hours, keeps you up at night over something vague they said, or makes you say sorry even when your heart feels clear, maybe they no longer deserve a front row seat in your life. You deserve relationships that feel light, not heavy. You deserve to be heard, to be respected, and to be yourself, fully and without guilt. There are people who don't mean to compete, but after every meeting, you feel just a little smaller. They don't criticize you openly. They don't show jealousy outright. They smile, they congratulate. But something in their tone, in their words, always leaves you feeling like you're not quite enough. You tell a happy story. They respond with a happier one. You share that you've learned a new recipe. They tell you they've been making it for years. You say you've started painting. They say, "That's nice, but I won a district prize for that back in the day." Every joy you share is quietly overshadowed. Mr. Tom, 76, used to love learning new things. After retirement, he signed up for a craft class to stay active. The first few sessions brought him joy. Then he invited an old friend to join. Instead of support, his friend always had something to say. "Looks okay. A bit childish, though." Or, I did this ages ago, nothing special. At first, Tom laughed it off, but slowly he stopped enjoying the class. He hesitated to share his work. Eventually, he quit. This is how quiet competition drains you. No harsh words, just a presence that dims your light. You begin to doubt your joy, shrink your dreams, and live smaller, like a candle burning less brightly so others aren't uncomfortable. At this age, you don't need to prove anything. You don't need to be better, smarter, or more impressive. You only need to live fully in the things you love, whether it's a flower arranging class or a few unpolished lines of poetry. There is no contest here, only life and the way you choose to enjoy it. If someone around you grows cold when you shine, ignores your happiness, or always turns your joy into a comparison, maybe it's time to step back. Make space for those who truly celebrate with you. Friendship in later life doesn't need to be plentiful, just sincere enough to smile when you shine, kind enough to let go of comparisons, and wise enough to know that when others succeed, it doesn't make us any smaller. You've lived long enough to understand. Kindness, if not placed carefully, becomes a burden. You've given much, time, energy, emotion, even on days when you were barely holding yourself up. Sometimes you help not because you wanted to, but because you didn't know how to say no. You endured not because they deserved it, but because you feared disappointing them. And you stayed silent, stepped back, made yourself small, because you were taught that good people are always patient. But at some point, especially when your hair has turned silver, your heart beats a little slower, and time starts to feel more precious. You realize kindness must be chosen wisely. You cannot keep giving without being replenished. You can't let others enter your life, stir it up, and leave without a trace. Old age is not the time to keep tolerating harmful relationships. It's the time to gently let go, to keep close only those who make you feel lighter, safer, and more yourself. Kindness doesn't mean always saying yes. Forgiveness doesn't mean endless tolerance. And love doesn't mean constant pain and silence. You can still be a good person, a kind person, but one who honors their boundaries, one who chooses their companions, one who knows how to say no when it matters, one who guards their heart from those who take but never give. You deserve relationships where you don't have to wear a mask. You deserve phone calls that come from care, not need. You deserve the peace that old age should bring, where you are heard, respected, and allowed to live slowly, deeply, truly. And if you find yourself quietly nodding along as you read this, if you see yourself in these words, then please remember, it is time to be kind to yourself more than ever. Choose where your heart goes. Save your kindness for those who earn it. And let the rest of your life be the part filled with peace,